Hi, in today's video, what I'm going to be talking you through is how to send an email using events when a user signs up. So I've had to do this recently on one of my personal projects, and what I wanted it to do is when a user signs up, I wanted to send out a welcome email with a few details in about my system. So I thought instead of everywhere that you have authentication writing the same piece of code, why not have an event that gets fired when a user is created, and anywhere on the system that you create a user, it's going to send this email out. So I thought it was quite a common thing that quite a lot of people would want to do. It was a while ago when I did this, and it wasn't on Laravel 6. This is my first time using Laravel 6. I've not practiced this, so if I hit any snags on the way, then I'm pretty sure that you would hit them too, so it's probably a good thing that I figure out any problems that I would have. And I'm not feeling too well at the minute, so if I start coughing, then I apologise. So what I've got to start with is literally just a blank Laravel project, Laravel 6, which I've just installed using Composer and then using Vagrant and VirtualBox to run it on Homestead. And if anybody wants me to do a video on how to get it up and running quickly using those things, then I'd be happy to do it. Just let me know in the comments. So I've got my site running. So this is just the blank page that you get. I've just changed the text. And the first thing that I want to do, which used to be a lot easier in the old versions of Laravel, is just create the default authentication boilerplate so that you get your register and login automatically created for you. So Laravel has split this out now into a separate library. So I think it's this. So to get to this part, you just go to the front end and then front end scaffolding. And then you want to do this line here, Composer require Laravel UI. So let's install that and see. I've not actually ever used this library before, so hopefully it won't be too hard. Right, so that looks like it's downloaded. Let's have a read of this and see what we need to do. I've been told that I should use the Vue one, but I'm guessing that Bootstrap, we're not going to be using Vue. Oh, we want this one with the auth. So I'm hoping that this just gives us the Bootstrap 4 libraries and the authentication scaffolding, but we'll soon find out. So if we just run that, so npm install npm run dev. So what this is doing now is just installing all the CSS and JavaScript from Bootstrap, I'm guessing. And I think it would have already generated our authentication files. Let's just have a quick look. Yeah, so it's put these controllers in there that let us log in, register, verify users, forgot password, confirm password. Let's just see what this looks like. Yeah, so we've got our two links there, which it does automatically for you. So what we're going to be concentrating on this register one for today. It looks a bit messed up at the minute, but as soon as this finishes, it should look fine. So while that's finishing installing, what we want to do next is create an event so that when a user is generated anywhere on the site, it triggers a listener, which we can just write once and then we can reuse that anywhere in the site. Let's see if this looks okay. So let's just have a look at the documentation. So basically, so this is your event, and then this is a listener for that event. So you trigger these events either by running some code, or you can add the events onto models, as eloquent models. So you can say on a user, every time a user's created, I want this event to be fired. And you can add more than one listener to each event. So you could have send an email, and then you could give the user some sign up bonus or something. You can do multiple listeners. It just keeps your code a lot more reusable than writing it everywhere that you're going to need it. And you can use these events for so many different things. It's really worth having a look at. I'd not really used them that much before. So let's see if our register form works. Yeah, so it's looking better now. So let's just oh yeah, so the first thing I need to do is run the migrations. So do Vagrant SSH, which lets you SSH onto the Vagrant box where the site is running, as if you're just doing it to a production server. And then I think it's CD code. And then this is the default directory. And then so if we just run php artisan migrate, let's just see what. All right. Yes, I think with Homestead, these defaults are not how we need them. So I'm pretty sure this is Homestead. I think the password. Oh, wrong way around. Hey, I think that's Homestead, and then the username's Homestead, and then the password's secret. I think. Let's give it another try. Yeah, so that's worked now. So we've connected to the database and generated those. So I've just connected to this. Hopefully we should see some tables yet. So now if I so that's logged us in. And we've got our user there in the database. So what I'm going to do is log out now and start doing our events. So let's have a look at this. So to add new events in, what you do is you go to the event service provider. So if you go to providers and then event service provider, and they've already put a test one there for you. I think this is one that the auth actually uses. So if we just create a new line and then copy from, let's just copy this one and then edit it, which is what I usually like to do just to make sure it's right. So my event's just going to be called user registered. And then I'm going to call my list. I might put event on the end. Just makes it easy to know what you're dealing with. And then my listener, I might just call it send welcome email. I like to put listener on the end as well. It just makes it easier to distinguish between them. And then if you go just down here, it gives you this command to run. And what that does, it looks in this file, and anything it sees that's not already generated, it will create events and listeners. So if we run that now, so let's see if it's created those events. So this is our user registered event that it's just created. This is one of the things I love about Laravel, how it just generates things and you don't have to actually write it yourself. Imagine having to remember all this. Right, so let's have a look. So usually in the documentation you get quite good examples. So what I'm going to want to do is right, yeah. So this is an example with a model being passed to it. So we're going to need to make sure we've got this use serializers models. Yeah, so it's got that there. And then this is your model that you're passing it. So they're using an order, but we want user. So I think they just had it there. So if you change that to user. And then they've just got order. So oops. If you just do this user equals user. And we don't actually need this at the minute. I'll leave it in there, but that's just for if you're using WebSockets. You can broadcast onto WebSockets so that if you've got a front end in Vue or something like that, you can use Pusher or Socket.io or whatever you want to use. And when these events are fired, you can listen for those on the front end, so you don't have to keep polling for changes. You can have like a real-time application that updates itself as soon as things change. Right, so let's see what else we need. So I think that's all you need to do in your event. A few other things to take note of in this dispatchable. That means that it will run on a queue. It can be queued. So let's just have a look at our listener that we generated as well. So this interacts with queue. Let me just show you the documentation. So queued event listeners. So literally all you have to do to queue this listener is add this implement should queue just there. And then what that would do, say if you was doing some kind of calculation and after your user registers, you don't want the user to have to wait for the site to process everything. So what that will do is it'll just return the home page straight away, and then in the background on your queue, it will do the processing there. I am going to do another video on queues because I think that's one of the best things about Laravel. There is a lot of other videos on YouTube explaining it, so I'm not sure whether it'd be useful, but let me know if you want to see that, and I'll do a quick video on it. So in this listener, for now I'm just going to not queue it, just because it's simpler, just as a quick example. So let's have a look at the documentation for listeners. So we want to find their example that's got the order. Right, yeah. So it automatically puts the event in here for you. So the way that we would be wanting to access our user is by doing event user instead of event order, because we've just swapped out everything where they've put order and changed it to user. So let's just so we don't actually need, yeah, so it's already passed this event in that we generated. So for now I'm just going to output the user. So if we just change order to user, but as it currently stands, how we have it now, it won't get fired. So if let's just quickly test it. Yeah, so it's created the user, but it's not actually fired that event, because we need to do one more step, which is dispatch the event. So let's just log out of this and go back to our documentation. So we want to dispatch the event. So with this example, I would just do it on an Eloquent model. So the normal way to dispatch an event is just by doing this. So we do event new user created event and then the user. But there's an even easier way for us to do it with the user. So if we go to Eloquent ORM, getting started, and then go down to events at the bottom. If you look here, you can automatically fire the events on any of these actions on a model. So you could do an action whenever a user's saved, whenever it's saving, whenever it's created, which is what we're going to do, whenever one is retrieved. There's so many different things that you could do. It's really useful. So how you do that is you literally just add this piece of code to your user model. So let's do that. And again, I'm just going to copy what they've got and then change the variables to what we need. So let's find our user model. Oops. Right. So we've already got a few things in here. So if we just go below that and just paste in that block, and then what we want to do is get rid of one of these, and then on created, and then change this to our, what did we call it? User registered event. And just copy that. And then we also need the use at the top, so just copy one of these that they've already got. And then copy this and replace that. So I'm hoping now when we register it should just spit out this, where is it? From the listener, it should just dump out the user, hopefully, if we've got it right. So let's give it a try. Right, so there's something not right. Right, I think I know what it is. So in our event, we're using the user, but we've not actually got it in our use. This is why I like to not practice before I do these videos, because if you hit little problems like that, if I've practiced it and know exactly what I'm doing, I might miss little things like that. And then if you have that problem, you might spend an hour trying to fix it. So I'm hoping now it works, but we might have to sign up again. I don't think it'll let us just refresh. Yeah. So let's just... Yeah, so that's worked. So it's spat out that user that we've just done in our listener. So the next thing that we want to do now is actually send the email from the listener. So let's go back to our documentation. Go to mail. And then generate mailables. So we want PHP artisan make mail, and then whatever we want it to call it. Everybody always takes the mick out of me on the comments for spelling things wrong, but the reason I do that is because my microphone's quite big and it blocks the view of my keyboard. It's not that I'm stupid and can't spell, it's just that I can't actually see my keyboard. So let's call it welcome email. Right, so let's have a look at this mail that it's generated. So it's just in this mail folder. Right, so what I like to use is Laravel's built-in Markdown emails, which makes it really easy to create a nice looking email without having to do a load of inline styling. I'm not sure if you've ever done emails before, but you have to do everything in line and it's just a pain. So Laravel has built-in Markdown function. So let's have a look. Markdown. Alright, so you can actually do the command with it in already. So let's delete that one that we just created. And then what was the flag? So just by adding this markdown on the end, you can define a view where you're going to do your markdown. So I'm just going to do it in emails and welcome. So it's created the class that sends the email, and then this is your view where you want to do your HTML or your markdown. So let's see if that's any different to what we had before. Yeah. So for now, let's just get a basic email sending without having the user's actual details in there. So the first thing we want to do is look at the views folder and then emails, welcome. Alright, so it's already got an example in there. Let's just see if it sends. Another cool thing when using Homestead is that you get, let's just have a look. You get a thing called Mailhog built in. Right, so if you look at the documentation on Homestead, it gives you this URL, which is like an inbox. So any emails that your application would be sending out to any address gets caught in this. So let's just paste that in there. Right. So now whenever we send an email from our application while we're in a local environment, instead of them getting sent out, they'll get caught here so we can test what they look like without having to actually send. What I used to do before I found out about this is put like live Mailgun credentials in and start sending myself hundreds of emails, testing emails. So this is a really nice to have tool if you want to do emails. Alright, so let's. There's one more thing that we need to do on the mail to send it. So let's go back to the mail and then send in mail. So if we just copy there, I like the documentation because they always use the same models in their examples. So even though we was in events, they're still using this order shipped and order model. So we can just swap those out for user and it should just work. Right, so in our listener, which gets fired when a user registers, we can, let's just comment that out for now. And then paste in this line that sends the actual email. So actually we can use that. So the user so instead of it coming from a form with the user, we can just paste in that event user and that should send it to the user that we're passing it. I think you can also just literally put in a string with like a email and just put the email in like that. But let's just try it with this first. And then this is the class of the mailable that we just generated. So it's, where is it now? Let's just copy this example and then, so we're going to need this mail library that comes with Laravel. Put that at the top. And then just copy this one and then rename it to what we named ours. So our mail is called welcome email. So, and then we just want to change this to the welcome email. And then this will be I'm not sure if let's just see what we've got in our mail. Oops. So our mail doesn't actually take a user at the minute, so I'll just leave that out for now. So I'll just do it like that. So it's not actually going to send them anything that says their name in it, but we will do that eventually. So let's see if it actually sends an email out. So there's nothing in there at the minute. Let's register. Oops, wrong box. Let's see if it works. Ah, yeah, I think I know what it is. So we need to set up our mail driver. So if we look here, these are set up to go to mailtrap.io, which is a website, and we're not signed up on there. So what was the Mailhog setup? Let's search for it. Alright, yeah. So it gives us what we need to put in those credentials here. So this is just on the Homestead section where we got that URL from. So if we just replace these, and then let's give it another try. It might make us register again, I think. Yeah. Right. Don't know what that was. So let's see. Yeah, so it's sent an email. Welcome to Coding is Easy. So we've got our email sending. We're almost there now. The last thing that I'm going to do is show you how to put their name in there. And if you change your site name, this will change as well. So I'll just quickly do that now. So let's send the user to it. So let's get our mailable, and then if we go to mail documentation again, let's look for I think they have another example like what we need with the models. Yeah. So we need the public user. And then we just do just the same as what we did on the listener. Or the event, was it? Yeah, the event. And oops. And then this time I'll remember to put in the use. So every time you use that model, you need to put this in. I'm sure most of you know that, but just for people that don't know. And then I think there's something else that we need to do. Oh no, just doing that will send it to the view. And then in your view, you can just access it. So they've got order price. So we can do like user name, user email. So let's just copy that. And then go to our view for our email. Paste that in, change that to user name. So it should just say their name, thank you for signing up. This is just a button that already exists, but you could just put that as a button to access the login for them to know where to go. But there's a lot of different things you can do with the Markdown, but I'll let you discover that for yourselves. And unless people get stuck and they want a video on it, then I can do that. But it's pretty easy. I think there's one last thing we need to do, which is in the listener. We just need to send the user here. So if we do event user, because it's just the same as what we had here, and this is how you access the model in a listener. It'll just be event and then whatever your model is. So event order or event user. And then I think that's it pretty much. So let's log out. Oh, don't know what's going on there. And then let's try register. Right, let's see if an email's come through. Yeah, so here it is. So that's pretty much it. That name at the top has changed to what we put in our .env at the top. And you can style the emails. I'll just quickly show you how to style the emails, or what you would do anyway. So customizing. So I think resources views vendor. So if we run that command that they gave us, we now have this vendor folder, and then these HTML files are literally just what you use. So like we had that button in our email, you can just edit the button by editing this HTML, and every button that you do from then on will look like this. The header, so that's just our website, and then what we put in our .env file. So if you wanted to do a different header, you could just do it all in here, and every email that you send out as a markdown will look the same. It's a nice way of getting all your emails to look consistent as well. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Hopefully that wasn't too hard and I explained it okay, even though I'm ill. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed that and you want to see more, just subscribe and like. Leave me a comment. If there's anything that you specifically want to see a video on, just let me know in the comments and I'll try and do a video on it. I have got one more video coming up with the rest of the permissions series. I'm going to try out a library that someone showed me they said does everything that I did in the other videos, but it's all ready made, so I'm going to give that a go and make a video on that. So yeah, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.